without a shadow of a doubt, is the Cronkite Show in social media history. I want to welcome you where the seats stay hot. We're in the middle of the war zone. And y'all know what it is. I want to say good afternoon to my beautiful co-host, Demetra K. And I am the 5-star general, Mr. Accountability. And it's going down tonight, man. You need to get on the phone and call your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie, everybody that's dealing with child support. Because we finna tell you the real about this here. I want to say top of the evening to you, man. We back in the building. We back in the building. It's the war zone, man. Where we keep it 100 at all times. But we're going to talk about something tonight that's very near and dear to my heart as well as my pockets. Child support. And them folk down there in every state, in every courtroom is playing. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to keep it real tonight. So hold on a second. Let me do this here real quick. So we're gonna talk about it tonight, all right? So Demetra, I'm gonna give you the flow because I'm your guest tonight.
Oh, you my guest, okay. Well, as you said, we are going to talk about child support. Child support affects a lot of people, men, women. I know a lot of people think it doesn't affect women, but it does. I have a story I may share with you guys later on if we get a chance to it. But so the issue of child support is all over the place. A lot of people think it's unfair that, let's say, a man has to pay it. A lot of times people look at it as women are as gold diggers for wanting child support. A lot of people say, well, women should be able to take care of the child. And, if the father, participates or not, she still should be able to take care of the child. And so this issue, and I'm sure everybody's on the panel has, I'm assuming, a horror story, a child support horror story. And so we are going to get into it. Who wants to go first? Who wants to tell their story, and whether you agree with child support or disagree with it, or if you're in the middle, who wants to go first? Donovan.
Well, I guess.
Okay, go ahead, Alicia. Go ahead.
Well, we are in the middle because we are on both sides of child support, to where I receive child support for 2 of my children, but my husband, he has to pay for his previous marriage child support. And for me, starting out, child support was not it's not what people put out to be. At first, I fought off for a while because I didn't want to put the father on child support. Because I was just going to try to make out on my own by myself, stuff like that, because we didn't work it out. We didn't work out. But I never kept my children away from their daddies. I never kept them away. But when I finally did, because a lot of times when you apply for things or you're trying to better yourself and your children, it's more like you're being conned or forced to apply for child support, whether that's your interest or not. And we're told, and I'm not the only mother that's been said or experienced that, but we're told we couldn't get certain services or assistance if we didn't apply for child support. And we're like, I don't want to do that. I'm telling them, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go that route because we're able and capable of working and taking care, plus having the support. But again, they just kept telling, you won't be able to get this or receive this unless you apply. And then, of course, having other people in your ears as well, telling you this and that, they need to, blah, blah, blah. So, at the time, I was in my early 20s. Being a single parent in your early 20s, it's not fun at all. So I went ahead and applied. But then when I started receiving the support, it was like, so what was the purpose of this child support again? Because this amount that we're receiving is not even what's helping to pay a bill. It wasn't enough to even pay a bill. So it's like, okay, so what are y'all doing with the money that y'all supposed to went after the fathers for? But when when the child receives it, it's not as much as you claim it to be. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm gonna let someone else.
Let me ask you this, Lanisha. Lanisha, let me go ahead and ask you this. What was his issue? Why didn't he want to pay child support? Because there's some people who will say, well, you don't always need, as people will say, to put the white man in your business. There's ways to go around doing it without involving the system. So what was his malfunction? Why wasn't he wanting to, or if that's the case, why wasn't he wanting to just willingly pay?
I apologize. You was breaking up. Didn't hear the question.
I'm sorry. I said, so what was his issue? Why wasn't he willing to pay? Why did you need to involve the system? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I can hear you.
Okay. So we'll hold on to that. So Donovan, tell us your story.
Hey, well, everybody knows my story.
And let me go ahead and formally introduce Donovan. Donovan is actually a near and dear friend of mine. Known him for over 30 years. Donovan and I have a show together. He co-hosts with me on my show. We've been doing it for years. Donovan, is a well-decorated in everything you can think of. But, he has a horror story too. So go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's just like the general's been saying. It hits everybody in every pocket. Now, in my situation, it was a youthful indiscretion. Okay, and when you're young and you don't really know and things, you're having a good time and everything, and then something happens. Now, Demetri, I'm the main one to always say the majority of people on Earth aren't here because the parents wanted them. We're here because it was something that happened and our parents dealt with it. I'm not saying in all cases. There are some cases where you're wanted and stuff, but the majority of us were just an incident that has happened. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but okay. So in my situation, I got in a situation as a young man. I'm 20. I just got back from the Gulf War. So the first thing military people do when they go off to war and they come back is, just in case they go back to war, they don't want to leave here without something, of themselves left behind. Thus, you have the generation called the baby boomers. Why are they called the baby boomers? Because when the troops came back from World War II, what were they doing? Making babies. So that's where you get it. So in my situation, I kind of fell under that esteem. And unfortunately, I had a child with somebody that I didn't necessarily want to have a child with. She wasn't my girlfriend. We were just doing things just to do it. And an incident happened. And the bad case with mine is because I was so young and immature, and just like what Lamisha was saying, you're immature and people are in your ear and telling you this. But in my horror story is this. Now, everybody knows when you're in the military nowadays, and it's been for a long time, you cannot leave children out there unbeknownst to whatever. And in my situation, my oldest son's mother, she had people in her ear. And they're, oh yeah, put him on child support, whatever. Now, in my career, I became an aviator. To make a long story short, I'm getting...
It's horrible tonight.
Yeah. Make a long story short.
Can you hear me, Demetri?
We hear you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To make a long story short, I'm getting deployed, and I didn't even know I was being put on child support. By the time I figured I was being put on child support, and I come back to base after deployment, I'm locked in the system. Then when I go away again, I find out I'm getting increases. So every time I made rank, she was getting a raise and I wasn't. So it was just a horror story after horror story. But you know what? She didn't have the money. That wasn't my horror story. My horror story was the fact that after doing what she did to me, she still had the nerve to brainwash the child to think that I wasn't shit and I didn't contribute. Right. And that was the problem. But I have 2 children. And so after that first one and I matured, I didn't go through that child support system no more, because they have no love, especially for Black men.
Got it. All right, Mr. Monroe, what you got?
I was out there wilding out, and I was married. Remember, I told y'all I was a piss poor husband, and I ended up getting this girl pregnant. Okay, and I dealt with it. So, but the girl knew from day one what it was. because I made it painfully obvious what it was gonna be. And she got pregnant. I didn't run from it. I manned up. I took my wife and her to lunch one day, and I laid it out on the table. Told my wife, "You deal with me." I did what I did. I didn't call it a mistake. I did what I did, and I'll suffer the consequences on this end. And I told the girl that, I'm not gonna be with you. You knew that, and I am prepared to take care of my child. Long story short, the girl comes up missing. This child is not even 1 year old. She just basically falls off the grid. So I can't find her or the kid anymore. But from day one, I mean, before the baby came here, wife or no wife, the child had everything that she needed before she came here because I made sure. I just started buying a bunch of stuff. I didn't know what to buy. I was working at Walmart, so I get a discount. So I made sure that this kid had everything that she needed. He had the kid for 12 years. 12 years, I cannot find him. 12 years. Year 12, I'm about to get married, and she pops into my inbox. I still have the inbox till this day. Your daughter is here. She wants to know you. Not a problem. Next day, I'm at her house. Did not run from it. But I also told her that my mind frame was in the same place when she came up missing. The reason she came up missing is because I asked for a paternity test. And she was like, "Well, you should have got it at the hospital." I say, "No, in the state of Texas, I got 4 years from the date of birth to get a paternity test." So she would never give me the paternity test. So she comes up missing because I filed child support on myself. So I know I'm gonna get a paternity test if I file on myself. So she would never bring the baby to take the test. They scheduled like 3 or 4 times where we would come in and she would never bring her. So, I mean, child support people got frustrated with it. They say, "Look, man, you don't have to own up to anything until she establishes paternity." So now she's missing for 12 years. She shows back up. And when she shows up, I'm immediately like, let's do what we need to do. But I still need that paternity test. I still need the paternity test. So she fighting around. In the meantime, the young lady, the daughter, my daughter wanted to go to a better school. I put her in my old high school, School of Communications. They made accommodations because of me to pick her up at the front door of our house. All of that. They did all of that. And I did everything in my power to be in her life. So, but because I'm getting married, all of a sudden we need to hook back up. Now we ain't been together for 12 years. I don't want to hook up with you. I just want to take care of my child. Now I want you to understand at the time I'm making $300,000-$400,000 a year. So it's nothing that my child would want. I had a wife at the time that didn't have a problem embracing this child. I redid my whole house. We had a 5th bedroom. The wife said, "Let's make that her room when she comes over to spend the night, so she can have her room. Let's put the colors in there that she wants." I found out her favorite colors. Never spent one night in that room. One night. Okay, so that's when she's 12. So for 6 years, I'm going back and forth with somebody where you can visit her, but it has to be at a McDonald's. I'm not meeting with a 15-year-old at no McDonald's. I ain't did nothing to have these type of visitations. I want regular visitations. I don't have a problem giving you whatever you want. Whatever she asked me for, I made sure that that child had everything she needed. Okay, so I'm like, "Well, look, man, I want regular visitations." She will not give them to me. So let's flip it. 6 years down the line, the kid is about to turn 18. I get a child support letter on my job where they automatically just started garnishing me. For what? I mean, I ain't missing no court date. I ain't got no documentation. What this girl did is had a process server come out to my house. I'm at work at the time and was able to verify that I was at work and did not receive this court order to go to court, and had somebody act like me and get the court order. So because I missed court that I did not know about, then they automatically started garnishing me. I immediately called my attorney. We go to court. They throw whatever they took from me, they had to give it back to me because I proved that I was at work at the time that you said that this was delivered. Okay, cool. So now I'm like, okay, so now let's just go through the child support thing. Now I want you to understand, she's about to turn 18. We have no connection. because mom has kept her awake. So I mean, it's like when you put me and my daughter in the room, it's like two strangers. The only thing that made us similar, we look just alike. So, but there's no emotional connection at all. So we end up in court. They tag me for $13,000 in back child support for 3 years. That's all they could go back on. I say, cool, not an issue. So I mean, I'm gonna pay what I need to pay, and it is what it is. Blam! Y'all know I've been sick. I get sick. I'm in the hospital, major surgeries back to back. So while I'm in the hospital, I couldn't pay a payment because I'm in the hospital. So out of all the payments that I paid, never missed a payment. I missed 2. They dragged me back into the courtroom. You faced 180 days. For what? Because when I got to the point where I wasn't sick anymore, I started paying double. You see what I'm saying? To do what I need to do. But those 2 payments were like, they were still there. So I'm like, okay, I'm paying double. I get it. Y'all ain't gonna apply it to the months that I missed. But it is what it is. Just so happens I had a decent white judge. And he told her that if you're trying to send him to jail today, it's not gonna happen. He has a history of paying what he needs to pay. He doesn't have a problem with anything. Ma'am, he was in the hospital, and here's his hospital records right here. But no matter what, this vindictive, whatever I want to call her, and you know I want to call her worse. Your goal was to get me sent to jail, and it did not. But the games that I saw in that courtroom with child support and what people go through, man, they need to abolish this foolishness, man.
Absolutely. So, Lanisha, can you hear us? Are you there, Lanisha? Okay, well, we'll wait for her internet to pick up or whatever it is. So let me ask you this, because Lanisha, we can't hear you. You're kind of frozen. So let me ask you this: true or false? Child support is for the child only, not for the mom.
False.
Why is it false?
Because the way the system is set up, it's host support. Because not only am I providing a roof over my child's head, that's off of her head as well. So where she dwells, her nails, you know, I mean, as a man, you can't even get a audit of what she's paying the money on, but she can audit where money's going.
Hold on a second. I think we hear some feedback in the background.
False. Why is it false? Because the way the system is host support. I hear it.
Okay. Yeah. That would be on Donovan's end.
Okay, well, I don't hear it anymore. Okay, so Donovan, he has an interesting take on it. All right. What about you, Gary? Child support it should be for the child only and not the mom. So when I say the child only, it should go toward only the things that the child needs, nothing that the mom needs.
Well, no, that's not fair to the mom. I mean, because mom is paying bills, she's buying groceries, she's doing things that I'm not doing when I'm not there. So I clearly get it that it is for the mom as well as the child. But when I have a mom that's just flat out, you know, I mean, I'm paying $425 a month. You telling me, okay, I need more than that. Okay, but I'm paying you $425 a month. And I want to say this to everybody. $425 a month is not enough to take care of a child. It's realistically not enough. But my thing is I'm stuck paying the $425 because you wanted to take me to court. You were getting more than $425 a month. You hurt yourself. So no, it's not just for the child. No, not at all. It's for the mom too, because I mean, think about it: light bill, water bill, everything that comes with running a household. So no, I don't agree with that.
All right, so let me ask you this: and since I'm talking to you men, and we don't have any the other side of the story, should the mom have to verify to you where the money went? Should you be able to get an accounting? Let's say, for example, you're paying child support and she comes to you, she says, hey, I need some more money, whether it's for gas or food or whatever the case. At some point in time, should you have the right to say, okay, I need an accounting of where this money has gone since, and as to Gary's point, the money is, it's not nearly enough because the person who's the primary parent, they usually spend a little bit more on the child. But if they're continuously asking you for money, should you be able to get an accounting of what they've done with your money, the child support money?
Yes, I believe you should, because I'm not with her. We were never married, and one of the people, I forgot her name there. She was Anna Capri, and and I think she's a veteran as well. She says, "Hoe support, really? Was she a hoe when you laid with her? Mine was. Mine was." So I mean, I'm not even laughing. Mine was. So I'm answering that question. So. Back to what you're saying. If I'm paying this bill and I see my child is in t-shirts and Dimitri, you know my story. As a military officer, I was paying $1,600 a month. But if I saw my child in a t-shirt and this, that, and not living the way that I think the child should live, as a father, I should have a right, not to tell her how to spend the money, but I have a right to audit what she's spending the money on.
Right. Okay. Well, what about you, Gary?
I'm not going to ask for an audit unless I see my child not having the things that she actually needs.
Right, and that's what I said.
I'm not going to question anything about what she's doing, and more importantly, I think she may ask me, for some details about what I do, because if she comes to my house, she'll have a closet with clothes in it. She'll have everything that she needs. So me, I'm not the selfish guy. I'm not gonna say that I actually need an audit at all. No, just take care of her. But if I see some inconsistencies in the way that she's taking care of her, yes, I want to know where my money's going.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I said. If I deem that the child is in tatters, but her nails are done, and this is being done, or the other children have better than my child to what I've been paying to, I believe I should have a right to an audit. Now, I'm not saying every year, just like Gary said, when I have a question in regards to what is being done with this money.
Right. And so, hello there. What's your name?
Hi, it's Leah Salinas.
Leah, what's happening? So,
hey,
tell us your story. Tell us your child support story.
Sure. Goodness, it's a long one, but I'll try to preface it. I was divorced with 3 kids. The youngest was 11 weeks old, and I had a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And, like a lot of cases, the divorce got drawn out for almost a year, $20,000 in court fees for me. And that, lesson learned, it was because, so the story was I put him through 9 years of college, and he left the week after graduation.
Wow.
And so we didn't have a work history because he had been in school. And so what people don't understand is that, when you don't have a work history, even as a degreed professional, your child support is based off of minimum wage. And so that's what my child support was based off of. So it was $575 a month for 3 kids.
For that 3?
Yeah. That ain't no money, man.
Whoa.
Yep. And so, as a single mom, 30 years old with those 3 kids, one in diapers, one is 11 weeks old, I just fought for a year trying to get just something more, because a nanny alone was $1,900 a month. And I chose the nanny because it was less than daycare, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I fought for a month, a year, $20,000 later, and it went up to $675 for a month.
For 3 kids. Wow.
For 3 kids. So do the math, and I'm going to have to be, collecting for several years to get my cost from attorney fees. And my biggest thing was, just with his family, helping him fight me against getting more money than that. My thing was, you know, you don't have to like me, but if I'm having to work 7 days a week to provide for these kids, and a nanny is having to be there, and my family is having to help me raise them so that I can support them because I'm not getting enough in child support. If I am that stressed out and deprived, it only has a negative effect on my kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the mom is able to work a reasonable amount of hours and provide for the kids because she's getting enough support to help on the other end, it only benefits the kids. And I mean, I lost a lot of weight. I was, just sleep deprived. I had a baby that wasn't sleeping, and it took a toll. So for 3 years, that's what I had. And then, the state allows you to challenge it every 3 years or do an income review. So we did an income review, and it went up to 900 something a month. And it's every 3 years I've done that. So I've done it twice. But my biggest thing, which people don't understand, is, standard order is that the parents split the cost of medical bills. And to date, he's almost $10,000 in owing me for medical bills. Because in order to get that, force him to pay that, you wouldn't believe the paperwork I have to go through. And after 3 days of filling it out and submitting it to the court system, and them telling me I still needed more information, I just threw my hands up in the air. I was like, this is ridiculous. If there's a loophole, people will find it, right? So that's kind of my story.
So, and I don't know if you covered it, but what was his issue? Why didn't he want to give you a fair amount for 3 children?
Oh, he thought that was a fair amount.
Oh, okay. Well,
No.
we have 2 men here on the panel who, when you said how much he was giving you, they were like, what?
Yeah, no, he actually, when I said how I can't do $675, but just do the math of childcare for 3 kids. Actually, his dad said to me, "You can't squeeze juice from a turnip, Leah. You've gotten everything that you deserve, and you can't squeeze juice from a turnip." So I was like, well, you can't argue with that. And the biggest thing too is that he moved out of state. So not only was I only getting that, but I wasn't getting every other weekend of help. I wasn't getting, any time to if I had time for myself, it was because I paid a nanny to get it. So
okay. Oh yeah, that's pretty deep there. Lanisha, are you there? I kind of see you going in and out. Are you still there? So I think Lanisha's gonna having some issues with her internet, and it's unfortunate. So I saw somebody make a comment, and I don't know where it came from, but they said that is none of your business. And I guess they're speaking to the men. It's none of your business about her hair. She gets her hair done. It's none of your business where the money came from, I'm assuming. What do you guys think of that?
can't hear you, Jerry.
Can't hear you.
I said it is my business. If my child hair is not done, it becomes my business. If my child doesn't have the clothes that she needs, it becomes my business. It's my business. Now, if you taking care of your business, I don't have nothing to say about what you do. The only time I'm gonna have something to say is if it looks like my child is not being taken care of.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I could care less what you do with your hair.
All right, Donovan.
Jerry's, like I said, most guys are the same way. As long as they're taking care of business and the child is taken care of, you don't have a problem with me. You can take all the money and buy yourself a Mercedes for all I care, as long as my child is taken care of in the way and manner of the money that I'm sending to support it. A lot of women, and I know some of these women don't want to admit this, they use some of the money from the good dad to help support the other kids from the bad dad. And I don't have a problem with that either. I don't have a problem with that because kids, they didn't ask to be here. They weren't here to suffer. But at the same time, though, you're taking money out of my mouth and my child's mouth to support another man's child. And that's not right. But if you want your hair done and stuff, that's fine. But make sure that my child has the proper tools they need to grow in a prosperous environment. And D, I have no problem giving up the money because in one of my situations as a military person, and I know one of the, Anna, who's a veteran as well, and I think I'm a little bit older than Anna, so the times have changed from when I first got into the child support system with my first child. I didn't do it with my second child. One of my problems is that the child hits 18 and I'm free, right? I'm done, everything's good. Her girlfriends get in the ear and say, oh no, girl, you could go back to child support and he's supposed to pay for college. This woman goes and drags me back into court. Now, being a young guy back in the day, of course, I wouldn't have all my paperwork, but now I'm a major in the United States Air Force and I've matured a hell of a lot. I get all my documents. We go into the, to the courtroom. The judge is like, why are we here? Her lawyer, oh, he should be paying this and the child's getting ready to go to college and he's not doing that. He says, Mr. Sadiq, do you have your original order? I say, yeah, I do. I give it to him. He reads it. The order back in the day was 1 to 18, but her lawyer tried to argue, hey, he should continue to pay child support plus the education. Now, we already had an agreement from 1993. The judge was like, you can't come in and forcibly change an agreement you both signed. So they made their argument. So he said, here's what I'm going to do. Mr. Sadiq, would you like to continue to pay 4 to 6 more years of child support and student costs? No, thank you. Have a nice day. We're done. Unfortunately, a lot of women get a lot of bad advice. And I'm going to tell young men out there, I don't know how you guys are doing it. Some guys are having 2 and 3 children. If you can't, the one thing I did with my youngest son, make a long story short, I took him to the family courthouse in Norfolk, Virginia, and we sat down there for a day. And he couldn't understand, well, why are we here, Dad? What's going on? What's going on? I said, watch what happens here. The state represents the mother. Now, in a criminal case, I can go get a public defender. No, family court, they don't give that to the guy. So you got these young men that are being dragged into court if they show up at all, which a lot of you young men, the worst thing you could do is not answer that summons. That's the worst thing you can do. My son and we sat there all day and we watched how the system just raked these young men over the coals, Black, white, Latino, whatever. Don't do it. Don't bring any children in this world that you can't afford to take care of. And don't lay down with the woman that you wouldn't want to make a wife. I know some things happen, but you really, economically, you really got to think about what's going on.
All right. So let me ask. So, Leah, what is your take on that? Is it his business what you do with your hair? Per what they were saying. I think she froze up too. Are you there? Okay. And so until she comes back, I have a question. I saw somebody say, you choose who you lay down with, right? I think everybody can agree with that. Now let me add on to that. Does that mean, we hear some feedback there. Does that mean that in your case, both your case, that the woman should be able to just financially rake you over the coals? I don't know, somebody might need to silence their phone and having a feedback issue. I can't hear either one of you.
My mic's muted when I don't talk.
Can you hear us?
So if you're not talking, just mute.
Yeah, Lanisha, yes, we hear you now. But so for those who are not speaking, can you mute your microphone so we don't have to hear the feedback? Okay. So did you guys hear my question? So my question is, somebody says you choose who you lay down with. And I think, and I'm not trying to speak for anybody, I'm just going off my own head. People make mistakes, whether, and I'm not trying to liken babies to mistakes, but it is what it is. And Donovan, in your case, you said you weren't even with her, you had a baby, and you ended up paying a lot of child support. And so because you lay down, let's say, with the wrong person, does that mean that person gets to financially abuse you?
No, exactly. I made a mistake, just like Jerry here. I'm willing to pay what I need to pay to make sure the child gets what it needs. But to take me in and out of court, or what's that old saying? You don't kill the golden goose. You've got some women that keep taking guys into court. You can take all my money, but if I have no gas to put in my car to go to a job, what's the point? And that's where a lot of guys get into their situation where they're working a job and they can't even take care of themselves.
Yeah. Gary?
Can I address something? Because one thing I don't do is I don't run from anybody. Undoubtedly, I want to read this comment to y'all. Gary Wayne Monroe, you are lying. I have paper proof. I'm willing to submit to these people. I have never wanted to marry you. You begged me when you had nowhere to stay. You never paid a dime from day one. The judge let you talk and told you if you didn't pay, you had 180 days. Should I submit the truth in writing, or will you speak the truth? I'm going to stop right there and speak the truth. Hear the truth. When I can't hear you. Hold on a second, y'all.
Everybody needs to mute their phone because we're having some serious feedback.
Yeah. Okay. Mute your mics. Let me address this. When I went to court the very first time for child support, I went with my former wife, Marianne Huffman. Her name is Huffman now. At the time, it was Marianne Monroe. I'm standing in a courtroom, ready to go with a Ziploc bag with some toothpaste and a toothbrush in it. Because if you think you're finna take my money and parlay with it, you can send me to jail. So I can verify that. The second time, years later, I'm on my way to court. But because you, and if you were real, you'd have put your real name up here, not a fake page. My second wife, who's always told me, if you ever need to tell this story, I'll tell it with you. You had them people deliver a summons to my house. I answered the door and I took it. But remember, you didn't want to come and get the DNA. So I'm on my way to court on 288. My attorney, what's that woman name? I forgot. My attorney calls me on the way to court. She say, you can turn around. I say, why? She say, your baby mama canceled the child support thing. I say, no, what it is the lawyer done figured out she lied when we initially went through this thing, and she act like she ain't never had to deal with me on child support. So my thing is this here. You damn right I didn't pay you nothing because you didn't want to take a damn DNA test. And I'm not finna give you my hard-earned money for a child that I don't know is mine. So I've never ran from court. I've never missed a court date, period. And ain't no judge told me you're going to get 180 days when I'm sitting in there talking to the lawyer and offered you only got what, 11,000, 12,000 I owe you? Out of 11 or 12, you might see 3,000 to 4,000 because you owe the state money. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. So what I offered to do that day, I'll give you $5,000 in cash. We can settle this right now. You turned down the 5,000 because you wanted me to go to jail, and the judge did not send me to jail. So if you want to make a comment, make it with your regular page. Get your ignorant ass on here, because I'm tired dealing with you after damn near 20 years.
Woo-sa, woo-sa, woo-sa. All right, so Lenitra, you take
my husband has some experience on that end.
All right, so Lenitra, can you hear us pretty good?
Yes, we can hear. I believe we should be accountable. Yes, I can hear you. I would be accountable and have integrity with dealing with child support. Um, and it is a lot of abuse that goes that it has turned into a system and is becoming abuse. Like I said, even though on my end I didn't receive much from my two, but my husband here, it took most of his check. It ate most of his check, and he can explain more to you concerning his.
Yeah, my first issue was my first marriage, and it was three that I was taking care of. And the oldest child, even though she's not my biological child, but she's mine. You know what I mean? So I took that responsibility upon myself. But we didn't work out or whatever, you know what I'm saying, for whatever reason. But the thing is, um, there were times when I wanted to work out certain other things with her, you know what I'm saying, other agreements, but because you know what, I guess when people have animosity or whatever it may be, um, they act like they can't stand you or whatever, and it's like they want to get you and hurt you and do whatever they got to do, you know what I'm saying? So there was no reasoning with her in any way. I remember the first time we went to court for the divorce, and I wanted my oldest son to live with me because I just wanted to bring him up under the guardianship of his father as a man. You know, they ain't got nothing against a woman raising a man child, but I just felt that it would have been better that he be with me. You know what I'm saying? And I could raise him, and you know what I'm saying, take some of that off of her as well. But she looked back at me with the meanest look on her face and was like, "No, he cannot live with you." And I was like, "Why not? You just don't want to pay child support." That was the furthest thing from my mind at the I was not worried about child support, but I understood where her heart was at the time. The reason why she said what she said. But long story short, I ended up paying half of my income for years. I can tell you right now, um, I'm still on back because I lost my job at one point, and because of that, I'm in arrears. And then with my other son, um, recently divorced from my second marriage, and she ended up putting child support on me because I got married. Okay, which is crazy. And so being behind all these years, I'm like in the what 15,000 something left behind on it or whatever. She was trying to take it off of me, but she's out of state somewhere, out of the country. And they were telling her that she had to come back to Texas in order to go into one of the offices, you know what I'm saying, to take care of that or whatever. But she was trying to do everything by email, and they kept telling her, no, you can't do that. So anyway, um, like I say, I'm still paying for that or whatever, even though all of my kids have emancipated off of it, but the back pay I'm still paying. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, what from my understanding, like I was saying, it's like some people, I don't know if it has to do with a lot of immaturity or whatever it is, but you got some folk that's way older than 21 years old, and that's in the 40s and 50s still immature. But there are things you learn over time and you grow or whatever, and you understand things differently or whatever. And there were times I wish I could have done things differently, but at the same time, I'm looking at a system that is so jacked up, and it is, regardless if it's a woman paying or a man paying, it doesn't even matter really, because the corrupt system, you see what I'm saying, it does not even matter. They don't care. I always tell people this all the time. I say they don't care about you. They don't even care about the children.
No.
From my understanding. You see what I'm saying?
How the first wife took your daughter.
Huh?
The first wife took your daughter.
What you say?
Right.
And, also, his first wife took one of the children. She took one of the children that he didn't even see growing up.
Yeah,
he still had to pay child support for her, and he wasn't able to even see all of his children the whole time he was paying child support.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then when he got married to me, he was still on child support with all of them, but they was taking so much out of the checks to where the checks was as low as $200. Home pay, take home pay was low as $200. Now, mind you, we're married with a family of our own. We have, like I said, I have children from my previous, and also we have one together, and I'm currently pregnant now. So, but bulk of the child support has been taking our pay. And the sad thing is he's reported for modification. He's reported the family size. He's reported the income change and the family change, and yet they
don't care.
They still didn't modify the change amount. They still didn't modify the payment amount. It still went to his first wife.
Right.
They don't care.
And she was here, and it still went to her, not to the children. It went to her.
Boom.
Let me say this. Let me say this. And
I 24 years old. Okay.
Let me say this. I think I have some feedback. I don't know why. But I see Anna Capri. She has a whole lot to say, and I don't know what her malfunction is. I'm gonna try to be as nice as I can. So, she's saying that the men are just trying to make the women look bad. Well, I told you guys I had a story too. My daughter's father, we're on good terms now. My daughter's 27, but when she was younger, he wasn't getting after his thing like he was supposed to. So he went and got on the system being welfare. He accused me of being an absentee parent. One day, before direct deposit, I opened up my paycheck stub and it was missing more than half of my paycheck. For the life of me, I could not figure out what was going on. Called the HR department. They said, "Oh, your wages are being garnished for child support." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" So then I found out what I had just told you. He had put me in the system as an absentee parent. Do you know they garnished my wages for a year? But I'm going to tell you what I did. I was down there every other week, and I sat down with the DA, and I brought all my paperwork, my lease, her school stuff that proved that I was never, ever absent from her a day in her life. In fact, he moved into the same apartment complex as I did. He moved, it was a 30-second walk. So how can I be absentee if you live in the same apartment complex? So it's not just the women, it's the men too. Needless to say, after a year of me not giving up and allowing them to do that to me, they gave me all but $50 back for administration fee.
Let me say this. I see Anna's comments. Okay, let me try this a different way, Anna. This girl called me one day and said, "Can you give $50 for Jalen?" That's my baby's name. And I know she over there listening. "Can you give $50 for Jalen? Her choir at Persian is trying to go to Canada." I say, "Well, I'm out of town and I'll be back in town on this day. And I'm gonna come." They had a Christmas program where she was in the choir, so they were gonna sing. So I said, "Cool." I came to the Christmas program and I still have the picture. It's on Facebook. I didn't give the choir $50. I gave the choir $500. I gave them $500. If my child wanted to wear a different pair of Jordans every day, I had the ability to do that. The thing is, and I'm going to tell you where it broke down. This is the immaturity you were talking about earlier, Donovan. The immaturity of some parents. How did it all break down for us in the end? Because my child was at Yates, and one day she stole a phone. I get a call from the campus police officer. And he said, "Monroe, your child stole a phone. I found the phone. I saw the video." He said, "What you want me to do?" At that point, I was on that child's paperwork. So that means I could deal with the kid. You get what I'm saying? On the school campus. I say, "Demby, if you don't do your job, then I'm going to file a grievance on you." So what that meant, he had to book her, had to handcuff her, take her to jail. Because what I'm thinking in my head, if we can put a stop to this now, then this is not going to get worse. You see what I'm saying? But mom had a problem with it. Well, why you just didn't do this and do that? Because I'm not raising or even trying to raise a child that would think it's okay for her father to come into a school and make it better for her, and she stole a phone and committed a crime. No, I'm not doing that. So yes, they had to take her to jail. Her mama had to come get her from the police department. They had to book her, fingerprint her, all that. But I don't think you've had a problem since that day. Every mom is not a bad person. And every situation is not the same. As a father, I got married last time on a beach in Hawaii at sunset. I didn't have a best man. So I say, you know what? What about if my baby walked me down the aisle? I know that's a stretch for some people, but this is my child too. Her mama told me I don't have no money for her to go to Hawaii. I say, well, I didn't ask you if you did. I say, I'll pay for everything. She'll be there a whole week. Well, where's she going to stay? In a hotel room. The new bride had 2 boys, so I'm not going to put them in the same room. I'm not going to put the boys and the girls. Now, I paid for 17 people to go to Hawaii. Before she could even talk to the child in that conversation, oh, she don't want to go. Well, you never talk to her. Ask her if she wants to go. My reception was like a video shoot. You had to come down red carpets. I mean, I got a live band, all this stuff. Can she at least come to that? She wouldn't let her come. So I tried to be a part of her life. But then I hit a spot where I say, you know what? This child, and I never talk bad to this child about her mama. I told her, when you get old enough, we'll have a conversation. We'll have a conversation. But right now, do what your mom tells you to do. How do you think I feel as a father to go visit my child after 12 years and my child tell me, Dad, this is the first time I ever been outside in the neighborhood. You kept her locked in the house for 12 years. And her father is one of the biggest, baddest activists in the state of Texas. Got a school system shaking every day. You feel what I'm saying? And you don't want to work with me. No, I had to take the boys to school every morning. She like, why don't you pick Jalen up? I say, I can't do that because you don't wake Jalen up in time. So therefore, the boys will be late for school. And I'm not finna have them late for school. So, I mean, some people you can work with, some people you can't. But most times, I'm going to say about 58% of the time, you end up in child support because the mom is just a complete ass.
So that leads me to my next question. And Leah, I want to start with you. Why do you think women get the bitter baby mama title?
Oh, well, it's interesting because I've talked to women. Women reach out a lot to me when they're going through a divorce, knowing that I've been through it and I've seen the other side. And it's interesting because they'll, for instance, I had one woman who has 3 kids and she's been a stay-at-home mom. And she said to me, this system is so rigged towards men. I can't even believe it. I only get $3,000 a month in child support. And what does he expect me to do with that? And, she hasn't had a job in 10 years. And I'm like, really? Let me tell you my story. And I think it's just, there's a lot of emotions that go on with a breakup. There's a lot of emotions that go on with losing control over what goes on with your children and having them I always tell people when they ask for my advice for divorce, I say, is your current situation worse than a situation where you only see your kids part of the time, and when you don't see your kids, that other person can do whatever they want with them? So think about the scenario. Like right now, they're in your roof 100% of the time. Like, is what you're dealing with right now so bad that you want to give that up? And the reason I say that is because, you get into, you're not getting along for the most part with this other person, which is why you got divorced. You don't agree with their parenting styles, or maybe you do, but you just don't, you have hurt and pain that you're suffering through. And that's one way that you can, make them pay for what happened in the relationship. And it's not right. And it's if you're married, if you're divorced to a man or a woman or somebody who is dishonest and puts their needs before themselves, they can very easily manipulate the system to get out of responsibility and leave the person that is responsible with the brunt of the work. And it can turn you bitter real fast. And the second that you stop thinking about the good of the kids, it's a losing battle. No matter what the person did to you or didn't do to you. It's a losing battle. And that was at the end of the day where I just came to the point where enough was enough. I'm going to get what I'm going to get. He's not a nice person. He's not a good person. He's moved out of state. Don't feel sorry for my kids because he no longer has the influence that he does, which is better for them, you know, than having a toxic parent. And leave it alone, leave it be. We're blessed, we're healthy, and move on, because the kids could see my the stress that it caused me to be consumed with what wasn't right and what wasn't fair, and they didn't deserve that as a parent. I don't know, it's really long-winded answer, but I think people get too caught up in their own situation to see the big picture and that, you know, what it could be, how bad it could be. And the other reason that people do get bitter is because in my situation, you know, I felt helpless. I felt like his manipulation of the situation put this burden on us that I couldn't afford to fight anymore. You know, I just couldn't. $20,000 in on the lawyer, it just didn't make sense. And it's unfortunate.
Right. Okay. Well, go ahead, Gary.
I'm gonna tell you something, man. I mean, some of us are good guys. Some of us are not. But when you are out here dealing with some days a fool, you know, you're dealing with a fool. You know, so be it. I mean, it just got to a point with me that I just got sick of playing the games. I realistically got sick of playing the games. I don't have a connection to this child. You're not going to allow her to be in my life. You come in here 2 months before she turns 18 sniggling because now you know. Ain't no visitations. I can't develop a relationship. So what do I need to pay so I can move on with my life? That's a hard pill to swallow. But, you know, you get tired of playing the game. You see what I'm saying? And that was me. I got tired of playing the game. And I just think that nowadays you need to give some serious consideration, do some research on some people, do some background checks on them, credit checks on these people before you start laying up with them. Because you're going to end up in what I call an 18-year financial plan. That's what I call it nowadays, an 18-year financial plan for somebody that one never wanted you in the child's life. They only did it to get the income. You know, and it's sad that it's gotten to that. And I'm one of those guys that believe whether it's a black judge or a white judge, I don't need a black robe to tell me how to take care of my child. I think as adults, we can sit down and we can figure it out. But a lot of people just don't want to do that. So when you take me, if you don't even do the math on it, and you get $1,200, $1,300 a month, and then you take a guy to court and you get $400, don't be mad. You wanted to go to court, but you thought you were gonna get $1,200, $1,300. No, it wasn't gonna happen. And see, for all of those out there on the women's side that want to be slick, the dudes on our side, man, go get you a 1099 job, bro. Go get you a 1099 tax return job, bro. And that way, when you walk up in there, you don't show no income, and they got to give you the minimum.
Donovan, what you got to say? And then we'll get to
just real quick, isn't it funny that we're talking about this? And I understand the women's side of it. You guys got your side. We have our side. Now, you got some people saying that the state doesn't represent the woman and blah, blah, blah. We all know the dynamics of that. But when you're an 18-year-old kid and you got a state lawyer that has unlimited resources used against him, our perception is, because every time I went into court, other than when I went for the additional college, which I won, she had to get her own lawyer because the state was out of it. She didn't show up to court one time, but I had to show up. So don't tell me the state doesn't represent her. The state does, whatever parent, if it's a father or whatever. So I understand, these feminists that, the woman this, the woman that. Now here in California, I can only speak from my experience. You could be practically a drug addict mother and they will leave the child with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be the worst parent in the world, but it's in bed that goes with the child. So as a man, Of course, I'm going to have a bias to say that's bullshit. But you feminists, oh, she should be with the woman no matter the woman is there. No, there are some good fathers out there. And Demetria, I tell you, with me, it was never about the money. I paid the money because I was out putting my life on the line to defend this country. The problem was this. When I finally came back to base after being deployed 16 times, by the way, Iraq, Afghanistan, you name it, I was there. I come back and finally my son asked me the question that I knew he was asking me. He's a senior in high school. Dad, mom said you never paid no child support. What? Not only did you take my money, you poisoned my child against me. So being prepared, I had that paperwork, showed him the paperwork. And, I feel so bad for my son right now. He's going to be 29 this year, 28 this year. We don't talk. He doesn't talk to his mother. His grandmother on his side was on it, all of that. Told him I'm a dirt bag, I ain't shit, never paid a dime of child support. Now, those of us that have been in the military, you're not going to complete a military career without paying child support. We all know that. Showed him the paperwork. He asked his mother, we're standing right there. Now, I had no problem with her, interacting with us. Like I said, I have matured. You know what she told him? Oh, that's fake. Your dad made that up. I said, okay, she can say what she wants to say. You call that number and ask them, what's going on. Sure enough, he probably called it. I can see my child's head is blown because for all these years, he was told his dad ain't shit, blah, 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 never paid a dime of child support. You're going to take my money and then poison my child against me. And I'm not supposed to have feeling or feel some kind of way.
Right.
No, you can't have it both ways, ladies. I'm sorry. So to make a long story short, he hasn't talked to his mother in almost 8 years, hasn't talked to me, but he knows where I'm at because like I said, I'm a man. He's a man now. There's nothing I can do about that. He has to deal with that situation. But to do that for unknown reasons makes no, and then she tells him we were boyfriend and girlfriend. So when he asked me the question, I'm an honest guy. I'm a mature guy now. Me and your mom were boyfriend and girlfriend. And those of us in the military, you guys know what goes on the Wednesday night soul nights and whatever at the clubs. It is what it is. I didn't tell him his mom was, a bad person, but we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. So figure it out.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right.
Let's be honest here.
All
and
right.
That's what happens to a lot of people. I mean, you've got some good dads out there, a lot of dads that pay thousands of dollars, and then we still get raked over the coals. So, I'm sorry.
Right. Now, so everybody has had a story to tell. And so what would you guys say? And each one of you, I want to hear from each one of you. What is the moral of the story? Like what in hindsight, they say it's 2020, right? In hindsight, would you do anything differently? Knowing what you know now in regards to child support and dealing with the other, the absentee parent or what have you, would you do anything differently? And if so, what? Let's start with you, Gary.
All right, let's meet the mics. All right, you can hear me. The first thing I would do differently is not sleep with this girl. That's all it boils down to. I would not sleep with her. They could give me a steel condom. I wouldn't sleep with her because that's how evil she is. My last wife had 2 boys from a child marriage, and one day she came to me and she said, I'm finna go to court and I'm gonna get this child support raised up because the dude was paying child support. And I looked her in the eye. I say, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to take him to court. She said, why not? I say, because I'm here taking care of these boys. Why would you give that man them type of problems? No, you're not gonna do that. Let that man alone. He's struggling. Whatever he can pay, give it to the boys. I take care of them anyway. These not even my kids, but I accept the mom. I accept the boys. So I think that the end game for me is be careful who you sleep with. And if you end up with a child, do what you're supposed to do. But the vindictiveness, whether it's from a man or a woman, needs to go out of the door, because at the end of the day, it only hurts the child.
Donovan?
It's cheaper to keep her. The end.
All right, Leah.
Okay, well, hold on, close the door. I would, it's interesting, I'm reading these comments from JoJo and Noir, and it's hard not to have my heart reach out to these people. Just, you know, being alone and being angry and that things aren't fair. And I think the hardest thing, it's easy now to look back and say, you know, to have to rise above it, and that the only thing you can control is the parent that you are, and how you are with your children, and just pray that the other one does the right thing. And that's what's so maddening, is when they don't, because it can be very lonely. And looking back, you know, and also with divorce, when you're going through it, I always say you're asked to make life-altering decisions with a mind that isn't sound because of the emotions that you're going through, of the upset of the breakup and the betrayal and the hurt. And you have to make these decisions when you're not of a sound mind at the point. And I have to say that I wish that I didn't fight so long and so hard for something that was out of my control. It really, I wish I had understood the system more going into it, that someone said here, they only look at the income, they don't look at anything else. And that was the situation for me. And it was interesting that my attorney asked him, if the shoes were, if the position was changed and she was having to pay you child support and it was $575 a month for 3 kids, would you be able to support your children? And he said no. But the judge still ruled that amount, because it didn't matter. It mattered. This is the equation that we have. This is how we determine it. This is what you get, even though it wasn't livable. And I wish that I had saved myself a lot of grief and a lot of heartache and $20,000 fighting something that I just couldn't change. I couldn't change, and focus more on healing my kids and doing what we needed to do as a family to grieve together and move on and be healthy. And that's a really hard thing to do. And I'm not saying that if I had to go back and do it, I could do it, but my heart goes out to you ladies. Try not to get emotional about that. And even some of you men that are saying this, because I don't think it's one-sided. I hear it, it's not one-sided. People can be shitty parents on either side. They can be. They can focus more on themselves than the children. And the second you get away from your kids, you're going to cause lifelong damage. So I just encourage everybody to think about that. But I hope that answered your question. And my heart goes out to some of you, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me if I can be of support to you. So.
Awesome. All right. And Lanisha, well, would you do anything differently? If you knew then what was to come, right, what would you do differently, if anything? Would you do anything differently?
Well, for us, because we are people of faith, so we would have waited on God. I know in my case, I would have waited on God, because you have to know your self-worth. And when you know your self-worth, you're just not going to fall for anything or just do anything. That, of course, what I would have done differently during those days, those times. But just to backtrack on my end, because my oldest daughter, my first one, I'm an Army veteran myself. So me and her daddy, we are both Army veterans. So that's where it started. And but during that time, he was doing some drugs and drinking. And of course, he wasn't mature in that area. But like I said, I never kept my children away from their daddy. And so throughout the time, he was still able to visit, and we both live in 2 different states. And so that's when all the other ears and stuff being in your ears saying you need to file child support came in. And of course, mom be working. I had needed daycare. So that's what sparked them trying to force the child support on me, was daycare. And then with my second daughter, her daddy wasn't in her life for the first 3 years, and he was in IT. So you make money, but he was supporting and taking care of his other daughter. So I went in and filed because you need to do something. You need to do something. But throughout the years, as I grew in the Lord, my prayers grew, and I prayed and fasted for them. So both of them are changed, and both of them are in their lives. You understand? And then also, I want to say this as a side note, because for some people who do pay child support, they think that they think they don't need necessary to be in the children's lives. They just think it's okay to pay money and that's it. No, you have open doors to be in your children's lives. So that's what I want to say for those who are out there that's on that half side. But I prayed and fast for them, and they changed. The relationship is better. Both of them are in my daughters. They're in their lives. We all get along. My husband, them, like we all get along. So that's, that's what I would have done differently, but also encourage others to do on that end. And say, so what would you have done differently?
It's the same thing. I would have just, pretty much waited, on God, and not jump the gun. Being young, you make certain decisions, you know what I'm saying, and out of immaturity and things like that. But as time went on or whatever, I get along fine with them now, but it's just that I wish that I would have in the past, kind of, because how you get this gut feeling or whatever, and you get red flags, things you don't pay attention to. And over time, over the years, I've learned how to pay attention to that now, but more so my understanding now is that because I am a man of faith, like my wife was saying, it's more so now listen to God's voice, yes. Telling you, that's your gut telling you, what I'm saying, don't do this, don't do that, or whatever. And of course, learning how to deal with the other parent, in the beginning, I was like a little, angry and different things like that, or whatever that comes along with it. But over time, I just began to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I know is best for my children and do what's best for me, and to keep integrity and different things like that, because regardless of how they treat me, I'm not going to treat them bad. I'm not going to treat them, the way they treat me, what I'm saying, with a lot of vindictiveness and different things like that. But like I say, doing it differently, yeah, I would have definitely, paid attention to red flags, like this one ain't for you, what I'm saying? But with me and my wife now, prior to me and her getting together, whatever, I was by myself for like 5 years after my second marriage, because I was like, I ain't going into nothing else. God do with it, So like I say, my wife was saying, we all get along as parents. We all get along good now, But like I say, I'm still dealing with a little bit of a situation where I'm still on or whatever, but I'm just, like I said, just trust that on a better page now, because me and my wife are doing certain things now where we, we're trying to have different streams of income, and because we have an entrepreneurship spirit, we're now trying to go into our business and different things like that. Because I don't want to even have about her to receive child support from my stepdaughter's fathers or whatever, because it's really, to me, if a person's gonna be responsible, they're gonna be responsible, and I believe right. That right. from talking with them and different things like that and getting to know them, what I'm saying, I can tell that they've grown, they've matured, they know what to do, what I'm saying, different things like that. But I had always wondered how different would it be had not this child support system been put in place, period, I just wonder sometimes how they would get along, how they would deal with the situation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because to me, this is giving everybody an excuse to do wrong, to do different things, you know what I'm saying, to take advantage of each other, different things like that. It's just ridiculous.
Okay, so yeah.
You know, but like I say, I would have definitely, you know, paid attention to.
Okay, so yeah.
Red flags, of course.
I totally understand and agree with. Can you guys mute the microphones? I think we're getting some more feedback. Maybe it's me. So I definitely agree with everything you said. And for me, in closing, because we could go on forever. I'm just looking at some of the comments. This is a whole host of issues, and maybe we need to do a part two
tomorrow.
We can do a part 2 tomorrow. But I would say this in closing. And somebody asked, is there anybody on the panel that gets along with their co-parent now? My daughter's 27. Her father and I, we get along great. In fact, you know, coming back, and Donovan coming back from South Africa, he picked us up in the airport. He had on a shirt I liked. I said, well, I like that shirt. He pulled the shirt off of his back and was going to give it to me. So we get along great now. But my mom told us, she says, you know, because we fought a lot when my daughter was young. She says, no matter how much time she spends with you or how much time she spends with him, she's always going to be your child. And so when she said that to me, it just put me at ease. I felt like I didn't need to keep fighting with him. But in closing, I would say, don't lay down with somebody you don't want to spend 18 years with, at least 18 years, as Gary said, on a financial plan. You have to look past the booty. You got to look past the swag and ask yourself, okay, if I get horizontal with this person and this person has a baby by me, am I going to enjoy being in that relationship? Now, of course, a lot of times you don't know that up front, but you at least got to ask those questions. Is this the person that I at least want to be with for 18 years? And if you come up with more no's than yes, then pull your clothes back on and walk out the door. Because the purpose of sex is to procreate. We've made it everything else, but the purpose was to populate. So that's all I have.
Let me say this here. I think if y'all are cool with it, I mean, because the people are enjoying it, maybe we should just do a part 2 tomorrow. Because it's things that we didn't touch on. Like, one of the biggest issues for me is, why do you keep these kids away from his father? Or why do you keep the kid away from the mom? Let's talk about that tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? Because it's games that are played that we never even talked about. And what a man should be in the house. He should do this and he should do that. Well, what's the reason he's not there? You see what I'm saying? But I think tomorrow, if we do the part 2, we talk about it. Let's see if we can come up with some solutions, because there's a lot of people out there watching us. If you game, you know, hold your hand up if you're coming back tomorrow. Okay, well, we in the building tomorrow, man. So I want to say this here, and we'll close out. Being a responsible parent is a tough job. If you didn't want the job, you shouldn't have made the kid. That's how I feel. But you also have to have a great line of communication. You asked the question, Demetria. I mean, somebody asked the question, who gets along with their co-parent at this point? I get along with my ex-wives. I don't get along with my co-parent at all. I don't, because there's a common denominator there. And we can't seem to get past it. But I can get past this woman over here cheating on me, but I can't get past what you're doing with this child. So if we coming back tomorrow, we're going to have a good conversation. And I might just add 1 or 2 more people to the conversation, because what I like today is we had a great conversation with just some regular people. And sometimes you got to have that conversation. So I applaud each and every one of y'all for showing up. And tomorrow we're going to do the part 2. We coming back and do it again. Say, man, I didn't lie. It's the hottest show in social media. I think we close to 500 comments already. So tomorrow we're going to do a part 2. Get a seatbelt, because we're going in. I want to thank my guest, Leah. Fabulous, fabulous. I love you. My other friend, I can't remember her name, Lanisha, and her husband. My new friend, Donovan. And of course, my fabulous co-host, Demetri K. And I am the 5-star general, Mr. Accountability. We'll see y'all tomorrow, part 2. We going in.